Welcome back, guys, to another bunker video. We have got a lot of parts to work with now. I am super stoked to make this progress. I think I'm only really missing like one or two things to start the car. We've got more parts coming today, the fuel pump, sending unit, and some other miscellaneous bits, but check this out. So it's a bit of a tricky situation trying to get transmission lines through here, and so I came up with the idea. My 4L60 already has fittings for rubber hoses on them, but there's not enough room for it in there. So what I've got here is some transmission cooler lines, just OEM. You can see they're the quick disconnect fittings. It's got these little guys I can reinstall to the transmission. New O-rings on them. And what I did was I cut the ends off with a brake line tool. And with these ends, I can put a compression AN line fitting on them, and I can run them to my radiator, and then to my transmission cooler that'll be in the front. So that is sick. Got wires, got a whole bunch of stuff in here. But yeah, I've also got a fan shroud, some random gauges, some random bits, power steering pump. I've got my alternator. I'm waiting for the bracket to come to mount the alternator, the power steering pump. I've got my power steering lines. Like I said, I got the radiator hoses are on the way. Those will take a while. I've got a drive shaft that'll work for the time being. Got to clean it up. Also got a shifter that I'm going to be using, and it's also a 4-speed B&M, which is awesome. I can make good use of that in here. My friend Chris also got the wiring taken down to the bare necessities. And then I will, for my speedometer, my tachometer, some other gauges if I want to make them work, be finding a plug in here for my cluster. It is the C207 that I'll be looking for. Don't know where the hell that is yet, but we'll get there. This is the main thing. Let's see. This wire right here runs to that HVAC wire. And then this is my starter wire. And then these two are my constants. So these will be going to my battery. I need to put a fuse in line for that. So I've got some wiring to run. I also have my engine harness here. I've also got brackets for the ECU. This dirty guy, I've got brackets for him. So I'm gonna mount that underneath where the battery goes. And then my wiring is gonna run through here, over there. So super excited to get this progress done. Can't wait to get the tank back in the car. The sending unit's on the way. I've got my fuel pump. I've got my fuel pump install kit. So I should be able to make that work. And I think I have everything I need for my fuel system. So that's awesome. I am in the short rows, finally. So let's get this done. All right, check out the throttle cable. So I kind of made it work here. Wasn't perfect, didn't fit the bracket perfect. The throttle cable is from a 2005 Silverado, and I had to make a grommet that fit there and make the plug fit in it because it was not big enough for the 3rd gen hole. So, but it works. So we got a throttle cable now, and I've got that guy plugged and sealed. All right, progress report. I've got the trans lines in and run. That was a terrible experience, but I also have a starter wire run. It's 4 gauge. I'm not really sure if it's gonna be enough, but it's gonna. That's all I got right now, so we're gonna roll with that. I've got a ground wire run. My header is now on because I got those lines in. Got all the spark plugs in. Got the wires on this side just for fun. The coils are coming tomorrow, so I don't know if that'll be this video or next video. I'm working on the wiring here. I already got one wire wired. These are the data wires that go to the ECU, or whatever you would like to call the controller that was in this car. They are for the pressure switch. So I no longer have the ECU in the car. So I'm going to have to figure out how this system works. That I need to ground. I know I need to ground that, but I'll figure out how this system works. And then get those wires to my factory ECU so that it'll be integrated and my AC will work just fine. I got the radiator in. That's looking pretty. Fan shroud cut and installed. Oh, I got my new line for the oil pressure installed. So that runs to here. Hard line runs all the way. I have to run the wires for this. So we'll get to that point. Interior is kind of a work in progress. I've got this guy going to cover this hole, and the shifter will go into that in here, but I've got to drill a hole for the shifter cable. The factory shifter cable goes to the front. I need it to go to the rear, so we'll get to that. Okay, we have finished the new fuel pump sending unit. I've got the AEM 340 on there. I still need to put a hose clamp around the actual pump itself, but got it wired up. You can see the 2 clamps there running into the wiring harness. Wiring harness should be enough power. I'm gonna have to run a wire to the inside portion of that plug right there, but it's no big deal. And on this side, we've got our main compression fitting, 3/8, that runs to the fuel filter, fuel regulator. The fuel tank is ready to go in the car. I've got the new sending unit installed. It went in perfect, so I'm ready to get that into the car. So that's the next step once I finish up with the wiring. And when I do that, I will also be mounting my cool little Corvette fuel filter regulator, and I've got the AN line right there. Comes from the fuel rail, and it's gonna be running into this one. Alright, I'm filthy, but we've made some incredible progress. We are starting this thing soon. So I've got the wiring thrown over the engine. The plugs are down there, and I'm gonna mount the ECU down there. Got the mounting brackets on it. I got the airbox wired up. I've got the wires running over here. I've got inline fuses on the way. Those just have to go to this. Those 2 wires just power the whole inside of the car. That's power for the lights and all that stuff. So I'm getting some help from a friend on the wiring harness. He knows these wiring harnesses better than I do, so he's gonna help me set it up and get everything done. So tomorrow I'll get the fuse box mounted. Also tomorrow the coils and the coil brackets are coming, so I can get all my wires on and get that done. Fuel line right here going to the back of the car is done. I'm very excited to announce that we have a working fuel system. So the fuel system is run up to here. We've got lines here. Got the filter regulator there, and the line runs forward. Alright, we got some pretty cool stuff going on inside the car. I have disabled the VAT system. There is a relay that you will find, and you will ground 1 wire, and it will all function completely properly. So you can hear the fuel pump, and motor turns over. So that's awesome. I also got my lights wired up. So that's super cool. And I got the shifter in. And it works. It's not connected to the transmission yet. We're getting there. But that is a big improvement on what we had before. So big upgrades. I got my shifter linkage on there. I've got to plug the hole for the original shifter linkage. This is my new hole, and I'm just going to tie this guy up over here so it's out the way. But yeah, I utilized a factory hanger right here, and that shouldn't cause any issues. So this is a SPOHN spawn Crossmember. It's built for a 4L60, and I've now learned a tubular torque arm. I do not have a tubular torque arm. This is a UMI Crossmember, and this is for a regular Crossmember. I got their poly mount. So 2 differences about this. You can see that's just channel tube, and this is brought up and in and across. Much more clearance. That guy is right in the way of my exhaust. There is no room for an exhaust with this guy underneath the car. And I don't have a tubular torque arm, so it's a very difficult. It's a good Crossmember, but difficult for me. Great for someone that's just racing. This is a good street one. So I'm about to slap this guy in, get everything mounted up, and get the torque arm mounted to it so I can put the drive shaft in. Okay, that was not a very fun install, but it is in, And look at the room I have for my exhaust. I mean, this is awesome. So it was well worth it. You can check it out. I've got the torque arm in there. Now it is time for me to install my drive shaft. Alright guys, I have got a lot done since the last time I updated you guys, and I am so excited to show you. So, I got my fuse block mounted, and I also got my fan relays mounted. My wiring runs out for the fan relays. Got the ground for the fans. Those guys are grounded as well. The wires run to it. So these are the switches from the ECM. I do have them wired up so that it has control of both fans. I have got the wiring run from the plug over there. It's run all the way through here. And I've got, this is my switch power. My switch power goes to my fuse block and to my relays. This one right here is my fan, my blower motor. This one right here is just for the like chassis power. And then this right here is for my fans. This one right here is for my fuel pump. So we've got those all together, and this is all super tidy looking. This is for my starter. This is the ground I've got going to my block. I also got my dipstick in. More done. I got the wires on. I got the coils on with the coil rails. The back one was a bit tricky. I had to trim the box. A little bit ugly, but it works. There will be no rubbing. And I had to mount the coil. You can see that one is mounted there. I mounted on the underneath, and it fit. So these coils are known to put out a little bit more juice than the LS2 coils. So I just went ahead and went with those. I need to clean this harness up. It's a little rough looking, but we'll get there. I do need to swap the plugs for my injectors. That is the next thing I'm going to be doing. Let's see what else. Everything is wired up back there. The swap harness power wires are run to the starter, cam sensor, crank sensor, knock sensor. I had to get a adapter. I think this was Michigan Motorsports made that one for my map sensor. Come over here. I've got to figure out what these wires go to. I do know one of them is this one right here is my air temperature. That's cool. I believe this is my coolant temperature, so I need to swap that plug to fit the sensor I've got. Not a big deal. One of these is my mass airflow sensor that I'm not going to be running. One of these is my alternator. The only thing when my ICT billet bracket, which is a week late thanks to Amazon, finally comes, and I get my power steering and my alternator mounted, I'll just run a 8-gauge wire to my battery. No big deal. Not hard whatsoever. As you can see, I've got my trans cooler mounted, and I'll be running those lines here shortly. Right here is the grounds for my swap harness, and then I also ran my head to chassis ground wire like this. I honestly, it just worked out better on that side than the other side, so I'm pretty stoked about that. I'm going to be, in just a second, be pulling the log, or sorry, the ROM, whatever you want to call it, the file, off of my ECM. Oh, I can show you. I mounted my ECM right here. It turned out pretty good. Just ran a bolt, no nut on both sides. So that's not gonna go anywhere. It's very solid. I also ran the fuel pump wire all the way through, because there's a relay, a fused relay right here. Well, actually, no, the fuse is right here. There's a relay right here for the fuel pump that is controlled by the ECM, and I had to run the wire all the way back. You can see there's a wire right there. Ran it all the way underneath, back there to the plug on the inside, and I ran 12 gauge, and the wire from that plug to the tank is the same gauge. I believe it's 14 gauge, and that should be completely okay for my AEM 340. So making great progress. I do have to extend that into the cab, but I'm going to worry about that shortly, not right this second. So this is going to be a very short fire. I just want to know if it fires. I just want to know if it starts. That was awesome. That's all I wanted.